Hi guys, okay, so the World Health Organization, the WHO, has just declared that monkeypox is a global health emergency. So what does that actually mean? What is monkeypox? I know these are some questions you guys might be having, so let's just get right into it. For those of you that don't know, my name is Dr. Shaw and I'm a rural family medicine resident, and I make videos about my journey through residency. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Monkeypox. First of all, before we get into that, what even is a global health emergency? Like, what does that even mean? Let's just cover that first. So a global health emergency is the highest alert level that the WHO has. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's like something extremely lethal, but it is an extraordinary event that is a public health risk to other countries and may require international cooperation to get under control. This is not the first time, as I'm sure many of you recall, back in 2020, the COVID pandemic was a global health emergency, but this is not the first time it's happened. Back in 2016, when the Zika virus was going around, that the WHO recognized that as also being a global health emergency. Back in 2014, with the Ebola outbreak in West Africa, that was also considered a global health emergency. So it's not something that's never happened before. We've had several in the past few years. So that's what that is. So what exactly is monkeypox? Okay, so monkeypox first and foremost is a virus, okay? It is a zoonotic virus. So what does that mean? That means that the virus transmits from animals to humans, okay? Animal can have this virus and it can infect a human and cross species in that way, all right? Primarily, it's not a new virus. It's something that has been pretty prevalent in the rainforest areas of Central and West Africa. However, now clearly it's been found in more and more urban areas. So because, as I mentioned, it's a zoonotic virus, the hosts are primarily animals. Now, what animals are the hosts? So we have rodents and we have non-human primates that are common reservoirs for this virus, okay? And the virus itself is what we call an enveloped double-strand DNA virus that belongs to the Poxviridae family. And if that sounds familiar to you, it's because smallpox is also a member of the Poxviridae family. So we kind of briefly covered it, but let's go into a little bit more detail. How is it transmitted? As I mentioned before, it is transmitted in primarily two ways. So the first way being that you can have an infected animal, and it goes from animal to human, okay? So you can have animal to human transmission, and this can occur primarily from, let's say, bodily fluids or in contact with blood or cutaneous or mucosal lesions of an infected animal. So basically what that means is, let's say you have an infected animal like a rodent or something, and it bites you, or in some way you're in contact with the blood or any mucosal surface or any skin surface or cutaneous surface. Generally, you have the possibility of getting that virus from that animal. And then the second way, the other transmission that's pertinent to us, is human to human transmission. So what that means is that if you have someone that has been infected with the virus, they can transfer it to another human through respiratory secretions, skin lesions of an infected person, or some sort of contaminated object. So those are three ways that an infected individual can spread the illness, okay? So the first thing, respiratory secretions. Droplet respiratory secretions really puts healthcare workers at an increased risk because you have a higher degree of face-to-face contact. Household members and other members that are close to active cases are at significant risk. The other thing is that it can cross through the placenta. So if you have a mom that is infected with monkeypox, it can go to the fetus as well and can result in congenital smallpox, or it could also transfer to the fetus during and after birth. The thing is that it's pretty well known that close physical contact is a very serious risk factor for transmission, but it's not really clear this time if it's only specifically transmitted sexually. However, that is definitely a well-known way that it is transmitted. Now it's important to know, what do we not know? We do not know at this time if the virus can be spread even if someone has no symptoms but they do have the virus. The other thing is, how often is monkeypox spread through respiratory secretions, or how much more likely is someone with monkeypox likely to spread the virus through respiratory secretions. And the other way is, how is it spread? Is it spread through semen, feces, urine, vaginal fluid? What is its primary spreading mechanism? So these are things that we still don't know yet, and it's important to be mindful of that, because as the situation progresses, hopefully we will gain some clarity on that, because it will definitely guide management. All right, so these are the big things. So what are the signs and symptoms? Okay, so usually symptoms will start within 3 weeks of exposure to the virus. Okay, so most people, they start off with a rash, and you could see pictures of the rash right here. Most people develop a rash, and then some people can develop a rash before or even without any of the other symptoms. Some of the other symptoms include, let's say, high fever, headaches, swollen lymph nodes, back pain, muscle pain. We talked about the rash, and also chills. So these are common other symptoms aside from the rash that patient may present with. Typically the way that it has been seen to present is that within 1 to 3 days of developing a fever, you will tend to see a rash, a vesicular rash, and it usually starts on the face and then spreads to the other parts of the body. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the rash. So when you look at the rash, it starts off as an early vesicle, then it turns into a pustule, and then it turns into an umbilical pustule. So you can see the little dent in the picture, like C, you see a little like indentation, that's an umbilicated pustule, and then you can have it ulcerate, so it forms a little ulcer, and then it starts to crust, and then those lesions start to scab over. According to the current data, it shows that all of these lesions at all these different phases are infectious and can spread the virus through these skin lesions. So it's very important to be mindful of that, and typically the illness tends to last between 2 to 4 weeks. Why is this important? What are complications? So known complications of monkeypox include bronchopneumonia, include encephalitis. It also results in infection of the cornea and results in loss of vision. So these are important complications to be aware of. It's not just a cold and a rash. There are other complications that you can get if you are infected with monkeypox. All right, so how do we keep ourselves safe? One way to stay safe is avoid skin-to-skin contact with people that have a rash that looks like monkeypox. I showed you guys a picture of what it looks like. Be mindful of it. If you see someone with that, do not touch those lesions, okay? Make sure that there's no skin-to-skin contact. Do not touch the scabs. Do not touch the rash. Do not hug, kiss, cuddle anyone with monkeypox. Sorry, hold the love till later, because that's one of the most infectious way of spreading the virus. The other thing is avoid contact objects or materials that a patient with monkeypox has used. Don't share any utensils. Don't touch the bedding, the towels, or the clothing, because it can spread through contaminated objects. So be very careful of that. And the other thing, I'm sure we're all aware of it now, we're probably sick of tired of hearing of it, make sure to wash your hands with soap and water, and use an alcohol-based sanitizer, especially after eating or touching your face or after using the bathroom. I hope this was a little bit helpful. I will continue to provide updates as the situation progresses, but here's a little video on monkeypox. Stay safe out there. Bye.